Welcome friends to a new news compilation, varied, full of gossip here at Big Data News. On today's program, the main topic is this, what you're seeing on screen, the Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Because I'm going to tell you how Ubisoft let this video game slip away, which in general terms brings together everything that Ubisoft has been pursuing for about a decade without success. Because if the video game was not developed by Ubisoft, but it was developed by people who were working at Ubisoft when they started to devise this game, the story is sad and it's another Ubisoft story. Well, being Ubisoft. In today's video, we'll discuss not just this, but also Nintendo Switch 2 in Latin America. We'll discuss new video games and recently developed betas. We'll talk about the new Mafia game, as it appears we'll have gameplay footage tomorrow. Today we're going to talk, obviously, about Ubisoft and Expedition 33 and a bit of everything, because today is a varied news compilation day. The one we do on Tuesdays, but today is Wednesday. And we start today's video by updating a bit of information about Nintendo Switch 2 and its launch in Latin American territories. This list you're seeing right now on screen is the list of Central American and Caribbean countries that will not have official distribution of Nintendo Switch 2. That is, if you are from any of these regions, you will have to get the console through a private distributor or an importer from another country. In addition to all this, the news portal Nintendero says that there will also be no official distribution of Nintendo Switch 2 in Argentina. For now, this information is not official, but it seems to come from a good source. It is rumored that neither Argentina, Paraguay, Bolivia, nor Uruguay will have official distribution of Nintendo Switch 2. I think with Paraguay and Bolivia it makes sense because, if I'm not mistaken, they don't have official Nintendo stores, or there is no eShop in those countries. I don't know what the situation is with Uruguay or much about the country. And with Argentina it's a bit noisy because there is a Nintendo eShop in Argentina, but it seems that Nintendo is not interested in the region. So far, the Latin American countries that are confirmed with official distribution and that are going to have the console from June 5th are Chile, Colombia, and Mexico. The rest of the regions for now will depend on the distribution in those countries to buy or acquire a console. Sony developed a super compact portable body capture system, and are you seeing it right now on screen? It's called MoCopy, and it's a set of motion sensors that are applied to the body and allow you to replicate real-life movements from a model or an actor within a video game or within a programming software. The price of this MoCopy kit is approximately $450 for the standard version and $1,000 for the Pro version. Both kits are currently available for purchase through authorized dealers and at the Sony store. It seems that Sony has been developing this MoCopy for about a year or so, but now they are promoting it in collaboration with Kojima Productions. It seems that the goal is to launch an accessible product so that smaller studios can incorporate motion capture, that is, capturing actors' movements, into their games. Sea of Stars, one of the most beautiful JRPGs we've had in recent times, just announced a new downloadable content that will include 8 new areas to explore, new enemies, new bosses, and of course, new dungeons. In addition to new classes for your characters, a new character and local co-op for up to 3 players. This title already had 2-player local co-op, but now one more is added to the co-op. All of this will arrive from the 20th of May to anyone who has already purchased the video game for free. Housemarque launched this week their new update for PlayStation 5 Pro of Returnal, an update that improves the video game to take full advantage of the PlayStation 5 Pro, doubling the game's resolution and making the frames per second much more stable. This patch is completely free and is already available as an update if you have PlayStation 5 Pro and you have Returnal. Speaking of Housemarque, we still have no updates regarding their new video game, Zaros, which should be launched in mid-2026. But you already know how all this is with the delay of Grand Theft Auto 6 and the schedules of the studios, which are probably reorganizing right now. What should happen is that Zaros should be shown at some point this year. Perhaps at mid-year events, perhaps at end-of-year events. And perhaps it's a game that gets a little ahead so as not to coincide exactly with Grand Theft Auto 6, or they end up delaying it until the end of 2026. Exactly, 10 years ago this video game, Marvel Contest of, was launched on Android and iOS. Champions. A video game that, by the way, is still active to this day, and you can download it from Android or iOS completely free. And it's a free-to-play fighting video game from the Marvel Universe, with all that implies. Microtransactions, micropayments, battle phases, skins, all that stuff. Well, its developers have just announced, surprisingly and without anyone asking for it, that this game is going to have its own PC version and it will be launched on May 15th on Steam. I have no idea why this is happening, but it's happening maybe a little late. After a legal battle of more than 4 years, the victory finally went to Epic, and in the United States, Fortnite will officially return to iPhones and iPads. The chief executive officer of Epic said that if Apple allows Fortnite to be on phones all over the world with its own monetization. And all of that from Epic, are they going to withdraw the rest of the lawsuits they have against Apple in the other territories? The outcome in other parts of the world is uncertain, but in the United States, Fortnite emerged victorious. And Fortnite indeed is going to return to iPhones and Apple devices, with its own store and its own monetization. Assassin's Creed Shadows just received its update 1.0.4 for consoles and PC. An update that adds a new playable mission available for both characters. And that also fixes some issues with the artificial intelligence of the enemies and the artificial intelligence of the little animals, and some things about parkour and stuff like that. In short, a huge update that I think weighs almost 20 gigabytes, which comes to repair and improve the game. Later on in June of this year, a new extra mission will be added, and later on the new Game Plus. By the end of the year, the game's first downloadable content will arrive, extending the title's entire story. About 10 more hours, Ubisoft still hasn't officially announced the sales figures for the latest Prince of Persia game. And instead of telling us whether it actually sold well or not, Ubisoft decides to tell us how many people played the video game. And they say that over 2 million people were able to play this title. Remember that not long ago the title dropped to PlayStation Plus, so probably a lot of these people played it through the service. Ubisoft lives in total disconnection with reality. The company has no idea what's happening with their video games, nor the impact they cause, nor do they have any idea how informed people are. Why on Twitter did these brilliant people post this game? The one from Prince of Persia of Lost Chrome, it was just the beginning of a new adventure of the Prince of Persia. No, it's not the beginning of a Prince of Persia adventure because the protagonist is actually someone else. And they also think that people don't know that they dissolved the team that developed the game. It's as if Ubisoft doesn't understand that people aren't stupid and are aware of what they're doing. In fact, I spent some time on Ubisoft's Twitter profile on this post I was showing you to read people's comments. And 100% of the people were saying they dissolved the studio. What are they trying to tell us? That it's the beginning of something new? It's not the beginning of anything, it's the end of something. Of something great, a spectacular game, one of the best Ubisoft has launched in a long time, remaining there now. Because yes, it's incredible, but it's amazing the disconnection these people have with reality. Well, that's why they are the way they are. And speaking of Ubisoft and their disconnection with the world, we have to talk about Clair Obscur, Expedition 33, because this title is a clear example of the lack of vision Ubisoft has for game development or for the future itself. And it's that Sandfall Interactive, the studio that's behind this video game, a video game that, by the way, is probably a candidate for Game of the Year 2025, because look at this. 100% positive reviews, 92 press score, and 9.7 from the players. It's crazy. Well, this studio is completely tied to Ubisoft, and in its origins, the studio, in fact, is composed of former Ubisoft developers Guillermo Broch, François Maurice, and Tom Guillermin. I don't know how to pronounce their names. The three founders of Sandfall Interactive are former Ubisoft employees who decided to leave Ubisoft because, according to them, they were bored with the work being done at the company and of always doing the same thing, and that Ubisoft had no ambitious creative aspirations. What's more, the developers of Expedition 33 mentioned that they came up with the game while they were still working at Ubisoft. In summary, the three creators of Soundfall Interactive, the studio responsible for Expedition 33, left Ubisoft Montpellier. And they left there on their own accord. They weren't fired, nor were they laid off, and they certainly didn't leave because they were bored. As they departed, they were planning their next self-financed video game. With a lot less budget than what Ubisoft could have to spend on a video game, and with much more success. Look at how little perspective Ubisoft has. They were not able to retain this talent, nor were they able to show their own creatives that they have the confidence to carry out their own projects. With the backing of Ubisoft, one of the world's largest video game studios, to go further. Are you working at Ubisoft? And you come up with an idea, or you have the idea to make a video game? The most logical thing is to follow your boss's lead, especially if you're a senior developer or hold a significant position. To see if the proposal takes hold, to see if it is viable, perhaps develop it for Ubisoft directly. But no, these people chose to leave and do it on their own. Just imagine how bad things must be inside Ubisoft for these things to happen. Expedition 33 is also one of the highest rated video games of the year. Possibly a Game of the Year candidate, or at least one of the best RPGs that will be released this 2025. The title is also going to have a confirmed live-action adaptation. That is, these people are achieving with an independent studio and a very short budget. Everything Ubisoft always wanted, a new intellectual property with impact that people like, a quality title, a candidate for Gothic with a film adaptation. And the craziest thing about all this is to think that all this talent slipped through Ubisoft's hands. By the way, I ask you if you have already played or have not played Expedition 33, and what do you think about the title? I would love to read them in the comments. Another video game that I believe will undoubtedly be a Game of the Year candidate this year, at least for best role-playing game, is Kingdom Come Deliverance. 2 continues to sell extremely well, which surprises no one. And the title has already sold 3 million copies since its launch a few months ago. An absolute blast, and also a highly recommended game for all those role-playing lovers. May 4th marked the end of Arkwriter's second closed alpha. The game is a post-apocalyptic extraction shooter featuring aliens. Well, they have already finished the second stage of testing, and its developers, Embark Studios, say that the title is coming along very well. So, we will probably have the final launch this 2025. And if you're eagerly awaiting the new Mafia, I have good news. And that's because tomorrow itself, May 8th, we're gonna have a special presentation with gameplay of the title. A presentation in which 2000 will tell us about the development of the title, how it's going to be played, and everything else. Remember that this new Mafia is not an open world game, but rather it is a linear experience, which comes to tell us the prequel of what would be the Mafia that we already know. And this that I'm gonna tell you to close the video is also surreal. It turns out that Blizzard licensed StarCraft, meaning it's going to allow other studios to develop their own StarCraft. Because it seems that for Blizzard, developing a new game from this saga is not important. The South Korean company Nexon was the one who acquired the licensing rights for StarCraft and is going to develop the new StarCraft. And it's not going to be Blizzard nor any of the 50,000 studios that Microsoft Gaming has right now. I really struggle to understand what goes through these people's heads. Blizzard, which right now isn't exactly like, wow, how much work does Blizzard have? But okay, I understand you don't have anyone available to develop StarCraft. Great, you don't have to license the game to a South Korean company. You belong to Microsoft Gaming. They have about 70 studios. There isn't a single one that doesn't have anything to do, that could develop a new StarCraft. I really struggle to understand it, but well, it seems that StarCraft is not a priority for Blizzard. It appears that StarCraft is not a priority for Blizzard. And are they going to give it to a South Korean studio? Because yes. Hopefully the people at Nexon will know how to bring something good forward. Asians keep demonstrating that Westerners don't comprehend much. With all due respect to the Gringo studios, well, with all due respect, whenever one says with all due respect, they are actually saying something that is not, with all due respect. Friends, that's all for today's news compilation. From the United Kingdom, from Manchester, where I'm currently recording, I will be back in the studio on Monday and we will return to our usual video format. From now until Monday, we will continue recording this way, as it's the only method I have. The world of gaming doesn't stop. We must continuously release videos to keep up with ongoing events. I recommend 2 videos above for you to continue watching content on this channel, and I'm gonna greatly appreciate your like and subscription if you've just discovered this nice channel. Thanks for watching, see you next time, bye.